Welcome to New Talk, a series that celebrates people who create positive change. Jay Pastucha is the executive director at Oil Lamp Theater in Glenview, Illinois, a professional nonprofit theater dedicated to presenting traditional theater in a unique venue and serving the community through the performing arts. Like many theaters, Oil Lamp closed in March 2020 due to coronavirus. By May, they produced virtual shows in drive-in theater last summer, and they are currently finishing a virtual series and preparing for an in-person outdoor season this summer. Today we talked to Jay about how Oil Lamp hosted 16 events and uplifted the spirits of over 5,000 people during the pandemic and what's ahead for the theater. I'm here with Jay, the executive director of Oil Lamp Theater. And we're so excited to talk with him about Oil Lamp and everything it's been doing throughout this pandemic. So Jay, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm staying busy and you know, there's a lot of big things brewing that I'm excited to kind of talk about. So
Good. And I see you're here in the theater.
I am, yeah, right here in the lobby. This is the kind of the front reception area, if you will. Right over here is the check-in desk. You know, it's nice being here.
Good. Well, why don't you start off a little bit by telling us about your first theater art experience?
All right. Well, my first theater or art experience, actually, this is a very interesting story because it's not something that I tell a lot of people. It's actually how I got into the arts. So back in the day, back in high school, I was a jock, a rocker, had long hair, but also played football, lifted a lot of weights and all those fun things. And I had a friend, Roxanne, who convinced me to join theater going from middle school to high school just so we could be friends and just, you know, stay connected. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll do that. Didn't really pay attention much, you know, my first 2 years essentially in that class, and never saw anything the school put on. And one day I saw the show Nonsense. It's habit forming. I don't know if you know the show or not, but that's one of the lines of the musical. And I had such a good time. And I went up to the theater teacher afterward. I was just so awe-inspired. And I said, "You can do that on stage?" And she said, "You can do anything." And from there, kind of the rest is history. There's a whole other half of that story, but I'll leave you with just that little bit, which you know, I will remember that phrase for the rest of my life. You can do anything.
Great, because it's the magic of theater. So can you just move on? Like, tell us a little bit about your career and how you got to be the executive director of Oil Lamp Theater.
Yeah, so I started out as an actor, and I went away for a tour for a company that I later worked for. And I came back with the whole idea of make it yourself. Put the work out there, gather the people that you trust, that you care about, and make something that's going to make an impact. So that was my junior year of college, and I came back and helped found Second Glance Theater, which was all about giving, you know, a platform for new voices, new works, people wanting to really just experiment. And we had a bunch of fun. It was also very stressful, you know, putting all the things up, but we did everything from staged readings to concert series. We did a whole full-scale production of Sharknami the musical, which was Sharknado, but got copyrighted. And from then, I went back on the road with that same company I worked for beforehand, and enjoyed myself a lot. My wife actually went with me on that tour, and we got done, moved back home for a few months to save some money, and we just said, all right, we're moving to Chicago. So saved up money, got all that kind of underway, and then about a month and a half before we were trying to move up here, got a call from that theater that me and my wife had worked with and toured with, and said, there's been kind of a changeover in some of the things that have been happening over here. Would you want to try being on the other side of the table? And, with that Second Glance company, we were also an umbrella nonprofit where we work with, children from, bad socioeconomic backgrounds. And we taught theater to them as well. And from that, I said, all right, this is a touring, theater for young audiences is theater, but it's also very grounded in classic literature, and really focused on imagination and building characters and truthful stories. So I said, you know what, let's try the other side of the table. So I went there and found out that they were expecting to close pretty soon. So giving me and my wife going up there was kind of them like their Hail Mary, if you will. And they did not close. I was there for over 5 years, working with a national touring theater that hit all 48 contiguous states across the United States. And from that, I said, halfway through my tenure there, said, I really miss Chicago. I mean, I've never been, but I miss the art scene and a lot of the individuals I know that have moved there. That's still in my cards. So they said, why don't you take a satellite office there, just come back for rehearsals. And from then I became what I call a human ping pong ball. And so after going back and forth for a couple of years with that, I said, I think it's time to really just fasten my roots, really get to know the community around me, and really just work with all these artists that are here, and then search for this job. It popped up, and now I am here. Long story short.
Okay, great. That's a human ping pong ball. That's fun. Not really. So talk a little bit about what Oil Lamp does and like the style of theater that it produces.
Yeah. So here at Oil Lamp Theater, what we do is we produce, typically in a non-pandemic world, shows that kind of evoke the human spirit. There's an element of redemption, of hope, of there's always laughter and some kind of communion in that. And what we really try to do here is kind of bring the community together. I don't know if you can see behind me, but the theater is nice and lit up right now. It's normally a little more dim. The mood's nice. It kind of makes you feel really cozy and at home. And we try to relate that in our shows as well. So bringing that essence for us now into the virtual world has been really hard. But we've been trying to really capture that and really trying to focus on making people feel comfortable and welcome on a digital format. So it's been interesting, but that's who we are, and kind of a little bit about what we've been doing.
Okay, and it started in somebody's living room?
Yes, so there's a little newspaper article right over here on the wall. It started on Keith Girth. He had an apartment in Lakeview, and I don't know the entire backstory, so if I misquote anything, I apologize. But from then, they started doing plays in their living room. They'd invite people. They had a bunch of chairs. They'd give you wine, hang out. It was really kind of like an invite only, bring your friends together and really just share these stories that are so meaningful and powerful and evocative. And from then, said, well, people are really enjoying this. I think more people should have this experience, not just those who live around us in Lakeview. So brought it to Glenview, Illinois in 2012. And from then, we've been growing pretty rapidly.
Great. And so, of course, the pandemic has been awful for theaters and all live entertainment, but you have really worked to pivot everybody's favorite pandemic verb, as I call it. So can you tell us about some of the stuff that you did last summer, in summer 2020, some of the programming?
Absolutely. So I will say pivot is the favorite word of this pandemic. So thank you for pointing that out. But we've really tried to not just adhere to the restrictions, but embrace them and say, how can we adopt these as our new workings and make it safe, but also enjoyable for everyone? So the first thing we did in the last summer is we did a solo show that we filmed. So we produced it fully we built the set, lights, filmed it, and then we streamed it, obviously, but we actually premiered that as a drive-in screening. So we had, I think, well over 200 cars pull up, watch this show as kind of the debut, and it was really great for us as our first thing to interact with our audiences, because I had people with like tears, like I was just looking for something to put on my calendar, and just seeing that impact and getting to I don't know, see the community from here up, but just seeing them and gathering again and doing it safely. And then after that, we did a pop-up cabaret called Iconic, and that was a blast and a half. It was socially distanced cabaret. Obviously, everyone's widely spaced on the stage, but it was Broadway hits of yesterday and today. And we had the 39 Steps, a live radio play version of it, ready to go in that same format. But that was right when, the uptick in cases happened and everything really, really shut down in October. And we pivoted within 48 hours and moved it online. And so that's just a little bit what we did last summer, and kind of the live, socially distanced, safe aspects of all of that.
Okay. And then we've been working on the virtual season for the first part of this year. So can you tell us a little bit about virtual theater?
Oh, absolutely. So I will start off with, before we even met, we hit right out of the gate hard with virtual stuff. Last May, we said, okay, we're doing a whole bunch of readings. We did Come Together, A Night of One Acts was our final one. We did the monologues, which is actually being reprised Mother's Day weekend this year because it was such a big hit. And then the first one we did, and that was Murderers. I might be getting that actually out of order a little bit. But we did that. We actually had the playwrights. We had Jeffrey Hatcher for Murderers do a post-show Q&A. We had two of the playwrights from the monologues do a Q&A afterwards, trying to engage people. It's not just about showing you're still there, being relevant, but it's finding ways to engage with your patrons. So our virtual season of 2021 was built on how do we engage with people. So we split it and we did a mix of our normal performances where you can watch virtually. But we also did a series of interactive, we call them mini fundraisers because they really don't raise a bunch of money for us. They actually help a lot of the local businesses more so and help our patrons. But those were, we did a beer tasting with 1090 Brewery, who's right around the corner. We did a cooking class with Forza Meats, who's right down the street, where it was, you made carne asada fajitas, Mexican rice, as well as refried beans, all from scratch. And then the last one we did was a mixology event with Koval Distillery. So all of those were able to engage people. And we actually got patrons or people who have never been patrons of our theater before coming to those events because it was something new and something to do.
Great. And so what was hard or surprising about going digital and virtual? Because everybody, I feel like everybody in the industry is trying to figure it out and the best way to do it. So what do you recommend for going that route?
For one, I will say the surprising aspect of this all has been the royalties and the rights process for any of these shows. One of the reasons we did the Night of One Acts because it was easier to get access to rights of one acts and things like that, and also being able to stage them in a digital format than anything full length right now. Luckily, it's taken enough time to have a lot of the playwrights and licensing companies open that, but also it's not any cheaper. It's actually more expensive for digital rights now. And you also make less money, a lot less money off of ticketing from it. So my advice for anyone trying to pivot and do that is, it's all about staying in contact with your patrons and your audience base. It's not going to be a huge revenue generator at all, but having that communication with your patrons, letting them know you're still there, you still care about them, and you still want to, make them smile, make them laugh. I think that is the thing that you need to be prepared to focus on more of. How do I do that? How do I make them laugh? That's why we did Foolish. We did something to try to uplift people and make them just giggle a little bit, instead of, so that's what I have to say about the virtual challenges.
Okay. And then do you want to talk about what's coming up this summer?
Yes. I think we are finally in a place that we can start really just kind of spreading the word. But we are doing I'm going to say it for the first time, season Under the Stars for this summer. So we're doing 2 full-length productions. We're actually creating an outdoor venue where people are going to come on out, watch these full-length shows. They're all one act, so they're right around 90 minutes or so. You come in, and they're each running for 5 weeks. We have Tally's Folly, which is a show by Lanford Wilson. It's about 2 people and how they've been kind of distant, but they've been meant together. There's something in between them, and how do they break that down, and how do they connect? And there's also, see if I can get this title right because it's very lengthy, Shipwrecked, an Entertainment, The Amazing Adventures of Louis de Rougemont as Told by Himself, which is actually, it's a little different than our normal shows that we have here, in the fact that actually is geared towards all ages, where you'll have people who are well retired that will very much enjoy this show, but you'll also have young families who will be able to come out and really get to have some entertainment, because there's not going to be a lot of options this summer. So providing something for everyone is kind of on my, mandatory checklist, if you will.
Fun for the whole family.
Absolutely.
Good. And then you said that somebody from Broadway's directing Tally's Folly, right?
Yeah. So Tad Ingram, he's a very, very good friend and mentor of mine. He actually spoke as one of the speakers at my wedding. He was in the original cast of Parade and some other shows on Broadway as a performer, and he's going to be directing Tally's Folly. I said, hey, we were looking at show options and how can you do things socially distanced and safe, and what other things out there, and that was one of the ones he had, and has also been on the list for Oil Lamp Theater to do for, well, many years now. So I said, I think this is Kismet. Would you be interested in teaming up? And somehow I duped him. I'm not sure. But no, I'm actually very, very overjoyed to have him this summer, because he's such a brilliant mind and someone that you just love being around on or off stage. Just a joy.
Where can people go to support Season Under the Stars, either to buy tickets or donate, because it's a huge undertaking to put something like this on in an engaging and safe way?
Absolutely. So I think you said it earlier. This is the biggest project Oil Lamp Theater has ever taken on. So for those who are interested, want to support us in any way, they can go to oillamptheater.org/donate. To support us in that way. But they can also support by spreading the word about the Season Under the Stars, or they can just come see the show whenever they get the chance. Also, tickets will be going on sale shortly after the monologues. The final show in our virtual season closes. So that is Friday, May 14th, I believe. Tickets will be going on sale for that outdoor season show. And I would say get tickets as soon as possible, because they're limited, it's outdoors, and people are looking for things to do.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, you are welcome. Thank you very much for having me, Nicole.
Perfect.
Thank you for watching New Talk. You can learn more about working with New Consulting on marketing, growth, customer service, and management by visiting newconsultingfirm.com. That's newconsultingfirm.com. See you next time.